5 FM, humfmradio.com. In the studio, we have Jagat, my co-host. My name is Subodh. Our other hosts are not here yet, well, because they'll be here next Saturday. And I know Jagat's going to be absent next Saturday, but I'll be here, Jagat, next Saturday.
Absolutely,
and we're trying to get a cardiologist next Saturday who also specializes in weight management, where she has some devices and machines that she does, and she melts the fat away by using these devices. And we're going to talk to her about that,
Right.
because a lot of people out there who may want to do that besides her listening to her cardiology thing. So before we go, and before KP George calls us, Jagat Bhai, I wanted to challenge you about a little something. Cricket. What happened to the Indian cricket team? What do you think happened? And I know Yogesh Bhai may be listening, and I'd love for him to jump in and tell us what the heck happened that day.
I do not know. I hope people are able to hear me out. But I think, Subodh, I got a little problem on this one here.
How about now?
No, I don't think. That is number 2.
Yeah.
That's number 2,
Yeah.
right?
Okay, try this. How's that? Can you hear me now?
No, mine is
That was number 2. This is yours.
Yeah.
How's that now?
Turn the number 3.
There you go.
Okay.
All right.
Better. Yeah.
Better? All right. Yeah, I can hear you clear.
Yeah. Okay, good.
Yeah.
Good. No, I honestly think that the Indian team or the management really needs to make a lot of changes. That is my personal thing, personal opinion. I think there is hubris in the Indian team, that hubris in the sense that the attitude that no one can defeat them. And I think that's really taking them down. I honestly believe that on the T20, you need people, younger people, a little more agile. I don't think that you need people of 32, 34, 35 years old in the team. That's my reading.
Yeah?
Okay. And some of these players have been playing for the last 10 years now on T20. And I think they somehow feel that, listen, they own this place, and that attitude needs to change. That's the way I look at it.
But Jagat Bhai, we came up all the way to the semi-finals.
We did.
I mean, had we come up to the finals, you wouldn't be having this conversation with me.
Well, that is the reason that if you were in the final, you still would have a conversation.
Mm-hmm.
If you had won, you would not have any conversation.
Right.
Yeah, it says this team is the best.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, that goes with the territory.
Right. But on paper, definitely, and with experience, this team is the best. On that day, they were not. I mean, we've beaten England, we lost to England, we've beaten Australia, lost to Australia.
I'm only talking about particularly the bowlers, I do not know about the fielding, but the bowler, like a street bowler on that particular day.
Right. Our bowlers were not as good. Let's talk to Yogesh, who's our cricket expert. Yogi Bhai, Sukhabar, how are you doing?
I'm doing great. How are you doing, guys?
Very good. Well, what? Yeah.
Listening to the doctor show, and it was very informative.
Oh, yes.
And really good show.
Yes, thank you very much. Yeah, we try our best to do good shows. We bring information, we bring conversation. Thank you, sir. So let's now talk about what happened to that day where we were all so excited to look at the semi-finals. I knew from the beginning that, hey, listen, it's not going to be easy because you cannot take England lightly. England is fantastic team they have.
Right.
And they didn't even have their fastest bowler in the world step up to the plate because he was injured. But they made, mince meat of us. Keema bana diya. Bharta bana diya. Jaise kehte hain, yaar, bangan ka bharta ban gaya hamara to.
Very true.
And you have to be honest that we were beaten in all departments.
Definitely.
Yes, absolutely, yes. Yeah. Very true.
It's just like we played the worst game of this year.
We did.
Maybe you can call
in the power play, if you cannot get beyond 35, that is terrible.
It is terrible.
To be honest with it, like if I look at the whole situation and where we come from the 21 World Cup to now, I think in 21 Cup, we felt that we are very not aggressive, very tentative. So we thought we're going to change. And then they came out after that and they say, we're going to have a process now. We're going to go with more exciting game. We're going to attack in the... before our thinking was like that, first 6 overs we'll save the wickets, then accumulate some run, and in last 6 we will smash it out if we have not lost more than 2 or 3 wickets.
Right.
But nowadays what happens is each and everything over the years, everybody knows what you can do and what you cannot do with certain grounds. What we did is one critical mistake. We had developed that process for a whole year.
Yeah.
And when the time comes to implement,
Yeah.
we just
Execution was poor.
We didn't have the right people to do it. And they are absolutely right. The team which is picked was not the fundamental what we wanted to go with. The bang cricket we wanted to play. And that's what we did over all the series and everywhere. We were hitting Australian bowlers, South African bowlers in the opening pairs and stuff like that. But what happened is when they got the selection done, besides all these players playing, two people who are outside batting wise, Pant and Huda are the two batsmen. Pant could have been a hitter and hit. So what happened is we cannot, if we can play Pant and DK both in the team, we don't have a balance of bowling. So we just got scared. And what happened is Huda, we thought we are too much protective in a 20-over game, like having to have 6 bowlers. If one is going to get hit, he's going to get hit no matter what.
Yeah.
And other one comes and he cannot save the day for you.
Why, Yogesh, why can't the Indian management can experiment with Hardik Pandya being a captain instead of continuing with the same?
I think he will.
But I think you have to look at the Hardik was not the fittest player for the whole year.
Because of the surgery and few other things that he went.
Before coming to the World Cup, they have protected him all the time. When they don't need to bowl him, they don't need to bowl him. They won't bowl him. They are protected because they are still worried about him getting injured.
Okay, all I'm saying is that we need a different thinking. That's all I'm. If not Hardik Pandya, then someone else.
No, it is going to be. I tell you, coming down the road, Hardik Pandya will be the captain, and probably, if you ask me, I'll rather go with Rishabh Pant as vice captain. If you're going to play a T20 game,
right? Exactly.
You better have the guy
and
give him the freedom. Let him hit.
Yes, exactly. Agree. I totally agree with you.
Yeah, I mean, he was sacrificed with that run out, as you saw. He was sacrificed with that run out that they went through.
Yeah.
And by that time, the game was, I saw the run rate, and I'm like, that. By that time, the game was, you cannot have 160, 170 with England. You need 190 and beyond.
Right.
Because their bowling, their batting is amazing.
Right.
Their batting is amazing.
We wanted to play a hard cricket, but we don't have and our opening was failing throughout the whole 5 games we played. They already failed. So what happened is, it is supposed to be the opening give you a good shot, then 3 people coming out, number 3, 4, 5, Virat, Suryakant Yadav, and whoever comes as wicket, either Hardik comes or depending on who comes, they are supposed to keep on hitting the ball. But what happens is, before the 6 over goes, we already have 3 overs and all the 2 guys are already out.
Yeah.
What happens is, instead of Virat, has no choice because he says, if he gets out, he has only 2 guys who hit, Surya Kumar Yadav and Hardik. He has no backup after that. We may, if we play and if Surya Kumar, in this game he got out, and if Hardik has got out, we would have in the 10th over, we would have somebody like Akshar batting.
Right.
So it's just like a team combination was really, really messed up. And to be honest,
right, and Yogesh Bhai, some of the team we put was a fantastic team, no doubt about that. Some of it is also luck in cricket. Luck plays a big point, big. This thing. Look at Sky when he hit that ball and he got caught.
Yeah.
On some other day, that ball would have cleared the roof of the thing, and the way he got the ball. So, and that happens. Having said that, our bowling was very mediocre, unfortunately.
I think what if you look at this is the Adelaide pitch is the lowest bounce pitch.
Yeah.
And shortest side boundaries. So most of the Australian wickets, you bang the ball a little short and the ball bounces to the head. So they cannot hit you too hard. What happens in this cricket, all you have to do is bowl the wicket to ball and right into their leg, not allow them to get underneath the ball.
Yeah.
What happened is, in the first over, after one good ball, we kept on pitching a little short and outside the off stump, and this short boundary, you just touch the ball and it's gone.
Yeah, it's gone.
But
There's no short ball.
Yogesh, that is the
And
point
it
I'm
looks like
trying to.
Our execution in the bowling was very, very poor. And I
That
don't
is.
know why Harshdeep gave 8 runs. Why did he took out Harshdeep from the second over? It's beyond my thinking.
Well,
He could
Yogesh,
have taken a wicket.
that is the point I'm trying to make, that they did not make any
Yeah.
corrections. Probably it was
No,
by
they didn't.
design. It was by design that the bowlers were bowling the way they did. And I think I fault the captain at that
what
point
they-
and the management, both,
They were thinking. It's just the execution. Like all the bowlers has to, they know that in Adelaide pitch, you can't bang short because the ball doesn't bounce like a Melbourne wicket does, or it's not have a boundary like 80-yard boundary like Melbourne.
Yeah, but they already know that this particular wicket is
And-
not going to bounce like that.
And they didn't.
Yes,
Pay
that's
attention.
the reason.
So-
You are supposed to bowl the ball right into their legs, so you don't allow them to swing it.
Right.
And-
And
Wow.
they didn't bowl in the like. Look at the way England bowl.
Hmm.
Every of their bowlers are not trying to do things, but they're trying to pitch the ball as close to the batsman bat and right onto the wicket.
Yeah, you saw
And
those.
we could not.
Yeah, you saw those Yorkers at the end.
Yeah,
And-
they consistently
couldn't touch
bowl.
it.
Every over, there are a couple of balls right into your legs.
Yeah.
Even Jordan got hit once, then he came out with 2 quick Yorkers into the legs.
Right, exactly. And Virat couldn't do anything much about it.
Yeah, there's nothing. That's what the plan's supposed to be.
That's exactly true. Well, going
But
into
his execution was very poor. Plus, we don't have any express bowler who can bounce few times
Right.
and start batsmen to think about it.
yes. I mean, we did definitely miss Boom Bumrah, who I hope will
Yeah.
recover soon now, because there are certain other series coming along. I think we're going to New Zealand soon,
Yeah.
and then
Yeah. But
Well, I think Hardik Pandya has already been appointed.
yeah, he's the captain there.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. They're going to rest everyone else, and I
India is going to be the captain.
Yeah.
They already said
exactly.
Hardik is going to be the captain.
And I hope they come to West Indies quickly, Jagat Bhai. We have to go and watch them play out here.
I'm all for it.
Yeah. Folks, you're listening to Open Forum. If you want to jump in, we're talking about cricket. कैसे कीमा बन गया इंडियन टीम का उस दिन पे. I mean, they played fairly okay throughout the tournament, but that one day where you really needed all the luck, all the skill to come through, we just didn't play. I mean,
And like what Jagat Bhai said, that we have too many slow people on the team. I can count like about 5 people who don't run at all. Rohit Sharma is the first one.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Then you have Ashwin. Then you have Sammy. And a couple of other guys. They don't run. Rahul doesn't run that hard.
No.
We like only have 2 or 3 guys who really run hard. Even I tell you, Harshdeep is a good player, but he needs to improve on his fielding.
Yeah.
He needs to have a little more quicker legs as a fielder.
Quicker legs and catching skills. A little bit better
Yes,
catching skills.
Catching will come. That's I'm not worried about too much that. But that's like you played a first game and nervous wreck and like 50,000 people watching.
Yeah. Anyway, Yogesh Bhai, I think what we're going to have to do is we were waiting for KP to call us, but
Okay,
I
he's
think
calling probably.
no, that's not KP. That's
Okay.
that's the gentleman from Pennsylvania.
Okay.
He's going to be calling, and that's Rohan. He's going to call. He's already made the call.
Sure.
But hold on, let me get him, and we'll get your insight also into. Oops, I think I cut off Yogesh by
That's okay.
mistake.
That's all right.
Well,
That's okay.
folks, you're listening to Open Forum. It's about 5:20 right now, and we have Rohan calling in from Pennsylvania. Jagat Bhai, as you know, the red wave that we were expecting or talking about became nothing but a bloodbath, I think, for the Republicans. As in, they did not lose, but they did not win the way they were supposed to be winning.
You're right.
Or as they were projected to win.
Right.
Or as the media went crazy about saying this is a tsunami of the red wave. I didn't even see a little wave out there,
No, you're
let
right.
alone red wave.
You're absolutely right.
So we're going to talk to Rohan,
Right.
who you did not have the pleasure of meeting last time,
No,
Jagat Bhai. You were out. Rohan is calling in from Pennsylvania.
Right.
And he's the Democratic Party, like the Republican Party, they all have their own analysts and they have their strategists.
Absolutely.
And Rohan is from the Democratic Party. I had the pleasure of meeting him less than a month ago in New Jersey.
Right.
And we're going to talk to him. Rohan, how are you doing today?
I'm good, Subodh. Thank you so much for having me. How are you?
Absolutely. I want to introduce you to my Democratic co-host out here, Jagat Kamdar, who is very passionate about the party, but he's also very fair about making sure that the candidates in that party are up to par and well qualified. He will make no bones about if they're not qualified and calling them out. So, Rohan and Jagat.
Hi, Rohan. This is Jagat.
Hi. Hey, nice to meet you, Jagat. Thanks for having me.
Right. We can go and talk about the entire election, what happened. Just like Subodh started it, that they were expecting a sweep of at least 40 to 50 seats in the House and at least 3 to 4 seats in the Senate. Unfortunately, that did not happen. I personally believe that the Senate is going to be controlled by the Democrats. The House is still going to be controlled by the Republicans, about 220 or between 220 to 225. That's the way I look at it. So,
slim majority.
It's an extremely slim majority. There is already some vibes going on the Hill right now. That Kevin McCarthy is going to have a challenge when it comes to the speakership of the House. And particularly, not only that, even the Jim Jordan and the Freedom Caucus have started making some noises right now. In the Republican side, I think Democrats are going to keep quiet at this time when it comes to the House. I mean, Democratic point of view is that they're still optimistic. Being a Democrat, I don't think that they're going to win the House.
I think they have, 4 shot now, the Republicans, or 6 shot?
Right.
And
the
Dems are about 13 or 14 shot.
Right.
But there are very close races going on still in California. They have not been determined.
But I think Republicans will get those kind of seats.
Well, and
the fact is, because the entire country run by the Republican governors were gerrymandered, just like Democrats do.
Yeah.
And
both sides do that.
And that is going to be advantageous to the Republican Party.
Right.
There's no question about it. Just like in Texas. Unfortunately, I guess my question to him would be: if you look into the total number of voters that who voted in 2018, they were much higher than what it's today. That in this election voted. And in 2020, there was the highest number of voters that voted. Unfortunately, 2022, people just did not come out and vote. I'm not going to blame the Republican Party for doing all these things, but I think I'm going to blame the people who did not really show up to the voting booth. Because, listen, particularly living in Texas, there are a lot of restrictions, but people like us just went out. Even if we had to stay, even if we have to give a couple of more identification, we did it. Some of the poor communities may not have those things, but they could have managed very easily. And so I'm extremely disappointed with the Republicans as well as Democrats when it comes to the voting in this country.
Well, on the other line, Rohan, this is a great opportunity for Open Forum to have 2 big guys.
Wow.
They both belong to the Democratic Party, and you do too. But we have our Judge KP George, who got re-elected again,
right?
In a county which has almost a little less than 300,000 population.
Right.
And congratulations.
County has 700,000 population.
Okay.
Your county.
Yeah, you're right about that. Our electoral is about 250 or so, 254.
Right.
And congratulations, Judge George. How are you doing, sir?
Good afternoon. I'm so sorry. I should have, I got, because
got busy. That's okay.
I know, that's okay.
That's all right.
You are a busy person right now.
That's okay. But
what happened? But let me make some correction right off the bat. Our current unofficial population is 882,577.
Wow.
We have 524,000 registered voters.
Wow. Fantastic.
Okay. Thank you for the correction.
Okay.
But I do want to introduce you to Rohan and Rohan to you. Rohan, KP George is a fine gentleman. He is the county judge, which is like the CEO of the county. He has commissioners under him, and they run the county, the safety, the traffic, etc. He's going to tell us a little bit more about that. And
the first Indian to elected as county judge.
As a county judge, the previous cycle.
Right.
And KP Rohan is a young guy. He lives in Pennsylvania. He is a Democratic analyst, election analyst, and has been an advisor to several elections in his state. And so I just wanted to introduce both of y'all. And it's a pleasure to talk to y'all post-election, although election as we know it had not been completely concluded. Hopefully, it's not over till the, what do they say, till the fat lady sings or something like that? Something is going on. Yeah.
As far as Texas is concerned, everything is done and over with.
Yeah, we're done.
So let's start with KP. KP, tell us what was your experience and with your re-election as a judge, what directions the Fort Bend County is going?
First of all, I just wanted to congratulate or thank Open Forum. You're always been a good host and, a good provider of information to the public. You have a lot of listeners.
Thank you.
In this area. And also I hear that, all over the country or even all over the world.
All over the world. Except the moon, we're going everywhere right now.
Yeah, what about Mars? They're saying people in Mars. Right?
We are thinking of that too. Well, you're kind, very kind, and thank you very much.
So thank you, and I appreciate it. And also, you said Rehan or Rohan?
Rohan. Yeah.
And I don't know you, but so nice to get introduced to you, and also. Subodh, I had to say this. Thank you for being a Democrat, because I think that's where the common sense lies.
That's how you won the election.
Yeah, exactly. But I just wanted to say this to you, gentlemen.
Yeah. On seriousness, right?
Yeah. That's all joke. But at the same time, some fact too. But by the way, coming back to our county is, according to Kinder Institute, the most ethnically diverse county in the country. Around a little shy of 30% Caucasians and 24% Hispanics, 22.6% Asians, which is a high percentage comparing many other places, and 21.5% African American. So I say this to you. This was my 6th election. I started this business in 2010. I got beaten up and bloodied and went home. Remember that Tea Party wave? Mm-hmm. That's when my first experience. I was. So with all that, I will tell you, I never encountered racism and bigotry and all kind of stuff like this. Never before.
Right.
Never before.
Right.
And that is sad in a community like ours, this diverse community, and you have this much intolerance among people who doesn't look like you, and they feel so. That's one thing. But also, I will tell you, it was all about negative campaigning, and I did not participate in it. We have a lot of things to talk about. At the end. The people in Fort Bend County recognized who is who, and I was able to defeat my opponent with a well-known name recognition, and his twin brother is the congressman and all that stuff. I was able to defeat him with the highest percentage of vote in Fort Bend County, a little shy of 8,000 votes, and I'm very humbled and honored to continue our work to the next 4 years and beyond.
Fantastic.
Right.
And we've seen that in Fort Bend County in the recent elections, even when Hillary was running, she, if I'm not mistaken, correct me if I'm wrong, she did get more votes than her opponent in this county, in our Fort Bend County. Yeah. And then, as you saw this time, when Beto and Abbott were running, it's the same thing that we saw again. That it was more of blue votes than red votes. That is what has changed in the last decade out here. Is that true, Judge George?
I think it is more than just red or blue, because one of the things, I don't know what people understand. See, you're absolutely right. Hillary Clinton is the first Democratic presidential candidate since LBJ carrying Fort Bend County. And that is I don't know how long ago, in the 60s. So that changed. She carried Fort Bend County versus Trump with maybe around close to 6% of the vote. And that was a change, a dramatic change happened in 2016. 2018, we had a countywide position. There was only 5 positions held by Republicans simply because they didn't have Democrats didn't have an opponent running. It was they got elected, without an opponent. And in 2020, we continued that. But then 2022, things were different, and I need to recognize that we saw that people voting across the line, and Republicans were able to elect, I believe, 2. Yeah, no, actually, of course, one incumbent judge, and of course, pick up one seat. When it comes to county court judge, they picked up one and lost one, and so that is kind of a wash. And then it comes to district judges, we saw that a couple of judges were losing and Republicans picking up a couple of. So total, it was one net loss for Democrats when it comes to judges in Fort Bend County. So I think the message, in my opinion, what I have seen, the result this election was people saying, if you don't show up, if you don't, serve and come and talk to us, you're not getting my vote. And that's what I have noticed in this election.
Yeah. So what we want to do is, I'm going to get Rohan on a national level. So, KP is doing it at a local Fort Bend County. But just before we get Rohan, Jagat, you may know this, and of course KP will know about Harris County. How did things happen in Harris County, which is right adjacent? It was
nail-biting. It was extremely nail-biting, but every Democratic candidate pulled through.
Including our friend Monica Singh. Judge Monica Singh.
Monica Singh and the county judge.
Right.
Bare majority, but they pulled through.
Yeah. Well, let's go.
Can I add something?
Hold on. Can I make one comment, Judge? Even with the ungodly advantage that Republicans have in raising funds, for example, you may not be aware of it, but Mattress Mac and his family contributed $650,000
against
Miller,
Lena. Yeah.
Against Lena to Miller.
Yeah.
And
Weekly Homes contributed $450,000.
I heard that too.
Right.
Yeah.
And there are a lot of other big donors, but these two are the biggest donors.
Right.
And she single-handedly raised $3.8 million in 1 month.
Wow.
In 1 month. Okay. And Lena was barely able to scratch the surface at that time.
Yeah.
But even then,
I wanted to say,
go ahead.
Not a different discussion in Fort Bend County, and I tell you, my opponent raised one person in Sugar Land Road overall last year, $250,000, $250,000 one individual wrote to my opponent, and then of course they did a much better job raising money from the Deshi community than I did. And so there is collectively, they raised at least around $140,000 in last maybe 40 days or so.
Right.
Collectively from the Deshi community.
Okay, this is where KP, Judge, this is where I come from. I don't mind people raising money. Of course, the Republicans would have always the advantage of it. I'm not worried about that. What I'm worried about, the kind of racial hatred that comes to all the candidates if they are not, quote unquote, white. If they are black, brown, or otherwise, you are going to hear that. And that needs to be stopped.
The other thing is, and one of our listeners just texted me out here, Samir, he's asking, what about the nationwide influx of money in Fort Bend County? There were quite a few candidates that got money from outside. What do you talk about that, KP? And then we'll go to Rohan.
Definitely, but I don't even know who they're talking about. That's not me. I wish I had some money coming from nationwide sources. That's not me.
That's not you.
And so this is the thing, and I don't know what they're talking about. I'd like to hear the specific.
Okay.
And as far as I know, That is not true.
But it's not you. There were other candidates who did get, and again, because the candidates are not here, we can't even talk about it because I want to give them the advantage
Let me talk about two particular names I'm going to mention. One is none other than Beto in Texas, who got $1.5 million from Soros. Okay?
George Soros.
It's George Soros, right? But people don't talk about it, that Abbott received $2.5 million from a Pakistani American oil businessman. Okay? $2.5 million. But, George Soros has become a what do you call it? Whipping boy, right? So these are, but this Pakistani American, this quietly donates. So far, he has donated $5 million to Bush's family.
Well,
so let's talk. Let's bring the national perspective.
Let's. Rohan, again, welcome back to Open Forum. You heard our local judge out here, our county judge, talk. Tell us about the landscape. Across where you are. I mean, y'all had a very, very important race there between Dr. Oz and Fetterman. Can you analyze what the heck happened out there?
Yeah.
And the second question is, and I think I don't understand, isn't it required that one of them has to get more than 50%, or is that state not required to have that? Or was that projected and hence it was already announced much earlier than he got the 50%?
Yeah, so a couple of things. So the first one, the second question is a bit easier to answer. So we don't have a threshold demand from the state legislature nor Washington D.C. That we need to meet. So it's just a simple majority of votes percentage that we look at. So Toomey won with under 50 twice, and now Fetterman most likely is going to cross 50% and get into the 51s. Because 51s most likely when all the votes are tabulated, and Oz is most likely going to stay just south of 47%. So
that's a big spread.
But so what happened in Pennsylvania is a very fascinating question. It really came down to the candidates. We saw a lot of split ticket voting between Shapiro and then Oz, but we just didn't see enough split ticket voting for that would push Oz or pull Oz over the finish line, simply because Shapiro was really pulling a lot of momentum with him, and he blew out Doug Mastriano by what is probably going to be about 15 points at the end of this week or even mid next week when all the votes are counted. And that amount of sheer momentum, that amount of force is absolutely going to pull the Senate candidate as well. So I view it as that sort of relationship. And in Pennsylvania specifically, I firmly believe that the party, the GOP, the state GOP, did a very poor job of recruiting candidates that could win or even come close to winning. And a lot of people say Oz, came close. He had the momentum. I actually was thinking Oz might pull it off.
Correct. I also thought so.
Before the election.
Let me ask you this. You brought a very interesting point of Shapiro. I mean, he ran a classic campaign, and no one can defeat him. Unfortunately, Fetterman did not really run a classic campaign. But having said that, if you look into Harrisburg and Hershey area, which predominantly, I think, a majority of the Republicans in that area, and at the same time in the border with the Kentucky, which is a coal country, there also seems to be a Republican stronghold. So how this equation worked out?
Yeah, so I think when we look at the simple math from the map of Pennsylvania right now, as it stands, there are two trends that really stand out. Fetterman actually overperformed Joe Biden significantly in rural PA, and in the suburbs of Philadelphia and the suburbs of Pittsburgh in Allegheny County, he basically broke even or did better as well. So it's really remarkable what happened. Of course, we have to take into account that turnout was much lower than it would ever be in 2020 because it's not a presidential year.
Right.
So what we saw happening was that Democratic voters on Election Day came out in droves which was not projected to be so high because so many had already voted by mail. I mean, we had almost 1.44 million voting by mail alone in this election in Pennsylvania, and if you add the math to what Fetterman and Shapiro have now, I mean, you're looking at about 1.2, 1.3 million more that came out to vote for them on election day. I mean, that is a significant number. So Democratic turnout was very high in the state of Pennsylvania, and that's exactly what we saw. I truly did not expect it to be so high. We're rivaling the 2018 Senate election, and in many ways even passing them up, because that was more like our gubernatorial election this year, where the Democratic candidate blew out Lou Barletta. So Bob Casey against Lou Barletta, it wasn't even close. It was more like our gubernatorial election this year with Mastriano and Shapiro. So it's fascinating. The turnout was very high. I was working the polls where I live in the suburbs of Pittsburgh on election day, and I saw very high turnout. And I saw Democratic numbers at the end that looked, very, 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 I think, pleasing to the Democratic polling, analyst or strategist, and it's remarkable what happened in Pennsylvania.
So
what's the reason, though?
What were the issues that all these Democrats came out? Was because the Republicans kept on harping on inflation and crime and the border issue, while Democrat didn't really have except the job number and the economy, and the abortion.
Right. Yeah, exactly. So, and we're seeing this in many other states as well. But we are directly south of New York, right? And that's a great example to understand. So New York, actually, a lot of their competitive congressional races, the incumbent Democrat or the competitive Democrat ended up losing or is on track to lose when all the final votes are tabulated. And one of the reasons that's going on, so the Republicans picked very poor candidates for both their Senate race and their governor's race, and that dragged them down underwater, right? As opposed to states like Florida or Texas, which had very strong incumbent governors as candidates. Right. We simply did not have that for either race, so we had to make a choice, and this was a choice between the Democratic Party and the Republican Party, not necessarily, a referendum on Joe Biden in the state of Pennsylvania. And those are the numbers we're looking at now. It was a choice between the Republicans led by Donald Trump, who endorsed both the governor and Senate candidate and rallied with them two and a half days, before the election, and said, amongst a number of things, that there is no faith in the electoral system in this country. My election was rigged. Now, when I run again, it's going to be rigged. So what's the point altogether, right? So if that's the message that this godfather of the Republican Party is sending out, then I'm not sure how candidates in competitive battleground states who are entirely endorsed by him, who are embracing him 48, 72 hours before, a major midterm election, are going to fare. Well, and on the other side, we have Biden and Obama rallying with Shapiro and Fetterman, two individuals who, one's approval rating is underwater now, but one also had, approval ratings that were up and down in Obama. So. But the point is we were not using Biden as a referendum, and we were forced to pick between the Republican Party and the Democratic Party, and independents swung one way, as opposed to defending Donald Trump and hoping for his return, and even the moderates on the same page as well. And that's why you simply could not see those numbers in the rural areas come out to vote for Mastriano and Dr. Oz, because they were just not convinced. They couldn't stomach it, and they couldn't swallow the ideas and the policies. One was from out of state, couldn't run those numbers up anyway, and the other one was about as extreme as the definition goes, and people could not stomach and digest that. And that was his downfall from the very beginning. And Shapiro promoted him. Shapiro really tried to get him, to be the candidate, because he knew that this is exactly what Mastriano was going to do, and it's going to be a domino effect from there.
Yeah. Hey, Rohan, what we're going to do is take one of our citizens here from Houston, Daniel, and let's get his question or opinion Daniel, we have these two very important people on the phone, but I think you are also equally important, so I want to give you that opportunity. What's your opinion or your comment or your question, my friend?
This question is to KP George.
Yeah.
Last Sunday, there was a one-page big editorial by Houston Chronicle about you. My question is, did that editorial help you, hurt you to become a judge?
Okay, well,
Hey, thank you so much for. Hey, Daniel, let me ask you this: did you write a little letter to editor?
Yes, I did.
T. Daniel, right?
T.D. Daniel.
Yeah. Wow.
to the Houston Chronicle.
Yeah, Houston Chronicle.
Yeah,
right.
Daniel is a very active guy.
I know. It
Daniel,
was a very nice letter.
Keep hold.
You have to read her article first. Divakarani's article first.
I did that. I honestly did that.
Okay, but they didn't write my whole. They didn't publish my whole letter. They cut out a lot.
Yeah, I
No,
will.
they didn't.
So
Okay.
I will send you that.
Send it to me because I don't read newspapers, as you can see. Daniel, hold. I want to see what KP's.
Mr. George.
Right. Let's KP answer it.
Okay, go for it, KP.
First of all, that whole discussion was a political witch hunt where they were trying to connect me with Lena Hidalgo's that contract issue.
Mm-hmm.
And in Fort Bend County, I did not give any contract to anybody. They went through a complete procurement process, and we have the record of it. And also, this.
Hold on. I think we're getting
hold on.
echoes here. Daniel,
Hey, Daniel, please shut down your radio.
Put your radio off because I'm getting KP's feedback. Okay, he's gone now.
Okay,
Yeah, he's
okay.
listening.
All
Okay,
right.
go ahead.
And also, I just wanted to say this. This is a common practice when it comes to any contract, and along with especially ARPA and CARES Act funding, we do audit on everybody. We hired an external auditor, Whitley, and they come and audit it. This is more like an internal audit. It is absolutely one commissioner wanted to make this as an issue. Mm-hmm. That's why he initiated this and sent everything to Houston Chronicle, the whole information. And I always appreciated our auditor's office and whatever they do. I am okay with it 100% because transparency is one of the most important things. They were simply trying to make a issue, which is that whoever that contractor they're talking about, we never even engaged them after, end of 2021, December. After that, they're not even engaged in any of this conversation. Of course, when we do, because government, any kind of government, especially federal money, we wanted to make sure we are doing everything possibly we can. This audit is part of it. And at the end of the day, our auditor approved all those transactions. So it is pretty much an internal audit. My opponents didn't have any dirt on. They were just going and digging. And obviously, news media is looking for something. They can get some sensation out of it, and they try to swing it. I don't think it hurt. But first of all, how many people read Houston Chronicle anymore? Come on.
Well,
I'm now worried about.
I'm one of the few ones.
You are?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
You live in Harris County.
You're right.
It didn't hurt him at all there. Yeah.
But let me ask you,
in
KP.
Fort Bend County, yeah.
Yeah, let me ask
I don't read it. I'll be honest.
Yeah. Now, a lot of people in Harris County do not read it. But let me ask you this. What was the winning formula for you? Because the national strategy would not work in the county. So people went and they said that they had a choice between you and the Republican candidate. So what did they see you and in you that they went and voted for you after 4 years of your running the government?
Yeah. First of all, they vote on the record. And, and I don't know, you go and check my opponents, the mailers and this and that. Everything was saying KP George is bad, so vote for me. And I did not even mention his name on my mailers and information such as I always send, hey, this is what we did, one thing. And also, you all know that in the first week, we Republicans have an advantage first week of early voting, around 5+% advantage, and then the second week we pulled all the people from especially from the polling locations and everything. We completely changed the strategy to knocking doors, and I tell you, last month or so we actually knocked to more than 30,000 doors in Fort Bend County, above and beyond our volunteers, whatever we did, around 25,000 phone calls, and that actually made the difference. If you really look at the county-wide election in Fort Bend County, I got the highest percentage or highest number of votes, which is around close to 8,000 votes. And considering some of our judges are they're not even declared winners. It's going to be after, I think, Monday or something. One judge got 36 votes margin, and the one got 55 votes. Mm-hmm. So I think our ground operation, reaching out to people and talking to them one-on-one, made a big difference, and that is the reason why, because anytime we talk, we come to find out the more and more people are listening to our message and more people agreeing with our message, because we, as you know, we are the most COVID vaccinated county, one of the safest county, because, and if you remember, Republicans were saying they're catching on to the Harris County or beyond their conversation of, crime is up and all that stuff. In Fort Bend, that is not true. Okay. And we went with it. Yeah, and so that is, I think our ground operation made all the difference. Yeah. Our vote, the number of votes we got is a clear reflection of literally touching the voters.
Okay. Yeah. Rohan, a question for you. Not a comment for you, comment from me.
And I have a question for Rohan also, yeah.
It won't take much time on it.
Yeah.
I just cannot understand, Rohan, that looking at Georgia, if you look at the Georgia governor's race camp, who did not support Trump even in his 2020 election, and this time also he won, and Raffensperger also won, that who declined to endorse Trump. Mm-hmm. Why this candidate in Pennsylvania did not get that message loud and clear? And why did they go with Trump? Because if you look at the results right now, Trump basically has lost a majority of the places. Yes, he has won at few endorsed candidates, but otherwise, overall, I think I think I would put him. I don't think that Republicans need to listen to him right now.
Yeah. So segue into that, and my question was exactly going to be segueing into that. Number two, the second part of the question is, what is the chance that Biden is going to say yes, re-elect me, and what is the chance that Trump is saying, you know what, I'm going to be the challenger? Because now we have the Florida governor, who is becoming a shining star, way up in the sky there.
Right.
And so where's the wind going to shift, if at all?
That's a great question. So I think with what happened in Georgia, there a couple things, right? So the big thing with Georgia is that Brian Kemp and Brad Raffensperger, two incumbents. So it's inherently quite different from Pennsylvania. Pennsylvania, two big open seats. So if it was similar in any way, we might have seen some similar outcomes as Georgia, where say the governor's race was an open race here, but the Senate race that Toomey was running again. We might have seen a similar outcome where Toomey might have won, and then of course Mastriano would have probably lost because he embraced Trump. I think the simple fact that Mastriano ran solely with Trump's base and only a small sliver of maybe some very moderate conservative suburban voters somewhere in northeast PA and some even in southwest PA, that really is it for him. I mean, he was going to hit a ceiling very quickly, and that really happened very quickly. And they called the race at 10:30 on election night. So that was something we were expected to see. Whereas in Georgia, you have one candidate running for Senate, in Herschel Walker, who has zero experience running on Trump's endorsement alone. The reason he is even going to a runoff because the Libertarian took over 2% of the vote, and that probably siphoned a bit off of him. and probably siphoned a bit off of Raphael Warnock as well, given that, the Democrat might be unpopular to some voters, but the Republican is even more unpopular to some voters, and they couldn't digest that. So, with Georgia having this runoff equation as sort of part of their final stretch, this was expected. If we had something similar in Pennsylvania, the reaction and the amount of turnout that we would have seen from the mail-ins itself would have been quite different as well. So that affects the entire landscape. And with respect to the DeSantis-Trump battle, I think really this is going to be an all-out war, right? So we're gonna watch very closely what happens in Georgia in the runoff. What does DeSantis do? Does he come out to endorse Herschel Walker and sort of sideline Trump there, or is it just going to be Trump rallying, Trump talking about the 2020 election, and then announcing his own bid before the runoff on December 6th? And my gut feeling, and I think how this goes, if he does that, I don't think Herschel has a chance. I think turnout is going to be just as strong for Warnock on December 6th, and the Democrats have a 51-49 majority in the Senate, and that solely rests on Trump, and that's how this goes. The fact that we're even having this discussion about the Senate control is because Trump did the exact same thing. He won and late 2020, and the seats flipped Democrat for the first time in decades in Georgia.
Well, the classic example is Michigan, for that matter. That the Republicans really got a shellacking because the entire government is going to be controlled by the Democrats at this time. And believe it or not, many of those candidates in Michigan, they went with the Trump, and they all lost, as a matter of fact. Yeah. But what are going to be the national trend coming up? Just like Subodh asked you regarding Biden versus Trump, again we are looking at 2024.
Yeah. Absolutely. I think the trends are fundamentally changing, and I wanted to draw attention to a suburban House seat that we have, state House seat in Pittsburgh, that, I spent a lot of time growing up in these suburbs. I've spent a lot of time witnessing the change, the trends themselves changing in the suburbs of Pittsburgh, which is an impeccable bellwether for the entire nation. And we have the first South Asian, the first physician, the first Indian American who will be sworn in, a gentleman by the name of Arvind Venkat, who will be sworn in the state house in Pennsylvania in January, and he won by about 11 points in what would have been a swing district and what should have been a swing district. I mean, he blew his Republican opponent out of the water, who had political experience. He is a physician. He didn't have political experience. He ran an excellent campaign, and it's a microcosm of a much larger trend. As suburbs get more diverse, I think Biden against somebody like Trump has a significant advantage, because Trump's fixation on 2 years ago is really never going to end. And if the GOP wants a chance here, I think they go with DeSantis. I think DeSantis really needs to put his, first and a half foot forward and come out and say, I really am the new. I'm the new
GOP.
Right. Yeah.
Leader.
If there was a Tea Party, this is like the coffee party.
There you go. And we don't have much time, Rohan. Sorry about that. We've got like maybe 100 seconds left, so I'm going to come back to you. But I want to thank KP and give him the last word before we get back to you again. KP, last words for you, sir.
Last word. Thank you for giving me an opportunity. And
last word for this program.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
So I would say, we have a number of programs we put together, and I'd like to come back and explain what is
absolutely
my second term look like, because people need to know. And now I started from ground. We have a base. So it is going to be much more focused on economic development and so on and so forth. And, I just wanted to say, your listeners, many of them, went out and voted for me. and some of them didn't. That's okay too. That's the democracy. And so I just wanted to say, those who voted, those who supported, and the end of the day, when I get sworn in, it doesn't really matter. I'm here to serve
all of
Fort
us.
Bend County,
Absolutely.
R or DO. It doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
So
Well
I
said.
just want people to reach out, and so thank you once again, Fort Bend County, for giving me an opportunity to serve you for the next 4 years.
Thank you, KP, and come back to the studio.
Exactly.
Yes?
Come back to the
Come back
studio.
here. We'll chat, and then maybe Jagat can take us out for dinner one day.
You bet. Anytime.
Thank you.
And that goes for Rohan also. Rohan, last few words from you, and then come to Houston, and Jagat will again take you out for dinner.
No, thank you so much.
He's generous.
Absolutely. No, this has really been a pleasure, and the parting message I think that I would put out there for everyone who's listening is the time is now for the Republicans to really move on from what this party has become and what it is becoming. I know the southern states have another idea. I know the conservative legislatures have another idea. I know Trump's base is still around and in some ways can get stronger or weaker. But it's time to move on back to what we saw with Mitt Romney, what we saw with John McCain, what we saw with Bob Dole and the Bush family. The politics that were there, even the Tea Party. Because here's what's going to happen. The Democrats are coming out in droves and saying that these are vicious attacks on women's reproductive rights. These are vicious attacks on our most basic freedoms. And this is how we as a population are going to respond. We're just not going to let these people, especially in this Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, run our lives. We're not going to let them vote the way they want to vote because one godfather of the party says that it's my way or it's no way at all.
All right, we're going to have to end at that. Rohan, thank you very much. I've been getting a lot of compliments on the cell phone, both of y'all on air. Rohan, they're very happy you're calling in from PA. They say, tell them to call more often.
Yes, please do so.
Yeah. And Chhatriwala just announced that he's going to take all of us out for dinner.
Yes.
Mr. Chhatriwala, thank you.
Thank you, Chhatriwala. Thank you so much.
We'll go. Rohan, get in touch with me again another time. And thank you again for calling in. Folks.
Of course. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Have a great night.
Thank you. You too. Folks, stay tuned for the next show. It's called Naya Andaz. Nabil and Rehan, they're going to be here.